Our fucking teacher said, "Who's been drawing dicks?"
If I'm being Frankie Goes to Hollywood with some of y'all, art content creation is kinda difficult, mainly because an art video that I had in mind is usually taken by someone else, or I just don't want to be referred to as a hack fraud for repeating what somebody else already did. But then it hit me. The most original thing I could ask is, does anyone still use Mario Paint? Before Ibis Paint and Procreate dominated the portable tablet market, before Krita and Clip Studio Paint dominated the desktop market, and before GIMP and Photoshop became steaming piles of goat shit for different reasons, the millennial or 90s kids had Mario Paint, which I didn't get into because I was born in 1999, the same year Family Guy and SpongeBob were a thing, and Bellingham was on fire from a pipeline burst. But nonetheless, millennials have been blessed with a Super Nintendo game known as Mario Paint. And you know what? Because it's released on Nintendo Switch Online for Nintendo Switch 1 and Switch 2, I figured I'd give it a shot. After all, as an artist that's used Krita and Procreate for so long, I'd figured maybe I'm missing something. Oh well, that's just perfect. The only good flat surface I have in the area, and now I have to turn my head right if I want to look at the screen. Well, this is absolute bullsh. Oh, wait a minute. This is on Nintendo Switch. I just realized. Ah, that's much better. Alright, we're in Mario Paint. Let's click on Mario and begin. Right off the bat, despite a very small aspect ratio, I can safely say this doesn't look too bad for an art program. You got the color palette at the top, the tools at the bottom, and yeah, that's pretty much it, really. Now, enough goofing around, and I don't have time to explain the music composer thing or the fly swatting minigame or whatever, so let's actually start drawing a picture in this program. Despite the mouse being either too stiff or too slippery from time to time, I will say the actual line art wasn't too bad, actually. I was able to make something out of this program. I will say that there is a tool that's similar to a bucket tool or a bucket fill tool or whatever. In Mario Paint, it requires pinpoint precision, and that can get a little frustrating, honestly. One thing that I'm not a fan of is that there's no layers, meaning I can't really draw details like shading, like shadows or light or whatever, and that I have to do it all on one layer. That is something that's very poorly aged. Another thing that I also am not really a fan of is that they don't really have enough colors in the color palette. They have multiple colors, but they're usually like different patterns and stuff, and that can get a little like limited if you ask me, compared to a modern art program, of course. I'm not really the biggest fan of this art program. This is only made for like, you know, out of curiosity and stuff, but I will say that it did try to revolutionize a couple of things, and I'll get to that in a moment. Now let's compare Mario Paint to a modern program, in this case Procreate on my iPad Air 6th generation. Well, not only is the image quality sharper than Mario Paint's, but I'm seeming to be drawing this character completely normal, honestly, as opposed to struggling with stuff like colors and color filling and stuff. Unfortunately, modern art programs like Krita can be overwhelming, and I was definitely overwhelmed with that, and Procreate, which is the program you're seeing now, does lack some features that more professional art programs like Krita or Clip Studio Paint have. But in the end, there's only one thing that I really like that Mario Paint has that modern art programs don't have: charm, and of course music. In terms of music, I'm not referring to the composer minigame or whatever, I'm actually referring to the actual music that plays when you actually draw. This game has 3 different tracks and they're all pretty darn good for you to listen to while you paint. But that's not all. Like, you can erase the entire canvas all at once, and they do it in the most unique ways possible, like this glitchy one that I really like. Now that's awesome. In the end, as someone born in the late 90s who's played it for the first time, is Mario Paint poorly aged? Yes, it really is. But does that make it bad? Not really, honestly. For a game about painting, music composing, and fly swatting, it's actually not that bad. There is tons of variety and charm that make this unique in the first place. Without Mario Paint, we wouldn't have computer painting softwares like MS Paint or whatever else you use. And without those, we wouldn't even have the more professional ones like Krita, Clip Studio, Procreate, etc. Mario Paint will be forever an inspiration to many different art forums and many different art programs for that matter, and its legacy will be carried on via the Nintendo Switch Online service. Now with that said, if Nintendo does make another Mario Paint game, then we can only hope that they add layers this time. Just a little food for thought, essentially.